Hello students, this is Murari Daman. I am here to discussing about Neet Zoology. In Neet Zoology part, today I am going to discuss about internal structure of heart. First you see here, in the internal structure of the heart, there are four chambers are present. There are four chambers are present inside the human heart, such as two auricles or atria and two ventricles. There are four chambers present inside the human heart, such as two upper chambers are called auricles or atria, two lower chambers are called ventricles. And this is the right auricle, this is the left auricle. This is the right ventricle, this is the left ventricle. And between the right and left auricles, there is a wall-like structure is present, but here that is not visible because that is covered by the one blood vessel. But below that blood vessel, one wall-like structure, exactly this location, one wall-like structure is present. For example, this is the wall-like structure. So before that, this is the wall-like structure. This is the wall-like structure. Some wall-like structure is present. That wall-like structure, the septum, this is called septum. The septum which separates both the auricles, that is called interauricular septum. Interauricular septum. The septum which is present between the auricles, between the right auricle and left auricle, that is called interauricular septum or IAS. Abbreviated form IAS, interauricular septum. Like that, the septum present between both the ventricles, that is called interventricular septum. Interventricular septum or IVS, abbreviated form IVS. Interauricular septum, interventricular septum. Like that, between the auricles and ventricles, the another septum is present. This is the septum or wall-like structure is present, which separates the auricles from the ventricles. That is called auriculoventricular septum. Auriculoventricular septum, AVS. Auriculoventricular septum. And the septum present between the right auricle and right ventricle, that is called right auriculoventricular septum. That is called right auriculoventricular septum. And the septum present between the left auricle and left ventricle, that is called left auriculoventricular septum. Left auriculoventricular septum. And between the septum present between the right auricle and right ventricle and septum present between the left auricle and left ventricle, some of the openings are present on these septae. And like that, the septum, the opening present between the right auricle and right ventricle, on the right auriculoventricular septum, that opening is called right auriculoventricular aperture. Right auriculoventricular aperture. And like that, the another opening is present. This is the opening and this is the opening. Another opening is present between the left auricle and left ventricle. That is known as the opening present between the left auricle and left ventricle on the left auriculoventricular septum. That is called left auriculoventricular aperture. Left auriculoventricular aperture. Okay. And you know, this is the one kind of blood vessel, and this is the another blood vessel. This is the another blood vessel. You see here, this is the heart. This is the heart. So this is the right auricle, left auricle, right ventricle, left ventricle. So the septum present between the right auricle and left auricle, that is called, this is the interauricular septum. On the interauricular septum, there is a depression-like structure is present. This depression-like structure present on interauricular septum is called fossa ovalis. This fossa ovalis, this is the remnant structure of foramen ovale. And what is the foramen ovale? When the lungs are not functional during the embryonic condition, there is an opening is present between the right auricle and left auricle on the interauricular septum, that is called foramen ovale. But whenever baby born from the mother's womb, this foramen ovale is closed and it remains like a structure that is called fossa ovalis. So that is a depression-like state. It remains like a depression-like structure. Now, so what are the blood vessels which bring the blood from various body parts into heart? There are different kinds of blood vessels which bring the blood from the various body parts into heart. Especially these blood vessels are called veins. If they are large in size, they are called caval veins. So like that, there are different kinds of large veins or caval veins. They bring the deoxygenated blood from the various body parts into heart. And now we are going to discuss about the blood vessels which bring the blood from the various body parts into heart, such as the first one, superior vena cava. Superior vena cava. This is the superior vena cava. It is also known as precaval vein. Precaval vein, which opens into right auricle. Which brings the deoxygenated blood from upper body parts into right auricle. Superior vena cava, which opens into right auricle, this is the superior vena cava. I mentioned these words here, but short forms. Superior, SV means superior vena cava. Superior vena cava, which opens into right auricle. This is also called precaval vein, which opens into right auricle, which brings the deoxygenated blood from upper body parts into right auricle. That means from upper body parts into heart. Now, another blood vessel which opens into right auricle, that is called inferior vena cava. Second one is called inferior vena cava. Inferior vena cava, it is also opens into right auricle. It is also called postcaval vein. Postcaval vein, which brings the deoxygenated blood from lower body parts to body parts to right auricle. Inferior vena cava, it is also known as postcaval vein, which brings the deoxygenated blood from the lower body parts into right auricle. And it is also opens into right auricle. So these are the largest veins. And another kinds of veins which brings the deoxygenated blood into heart. And third one, coronary sinus. The coronary sinus, which brings the deoxygenated blood from heart muscle to right auricle. Exactly, the coronary sinus, it opens in heart. Exactly this location. This is the coronary sinus. Coronary sinus, which opens into right auricle. And the right and left coronary veins united together open into right auricle as coronary sinus. And this coronary sinus, which brings the deoxygenated blood from heart muscle to right auricle. Coronary sinus, there are two coronary veins are present inside the heart muscles, such as right and left coronary veins. These right and left coronary veins are united together. They are open into right auricle as the coronary sinus. That means coronary sinus opens into right auricle. This coronary sinus, which brings the deoxygenated blood from the heart muscle to right auricle. And the fourth vein, the fourth one, pulmonary vein. There are four pulmonary veins 4 pulmonary veins opens into left auricle. See here, 1, 2, this is the left auricle, 3, 4. That means the blood vessels are not visible here because they opens into left auricle from the back side. So that is why only 2 blood vessels, that means the 2 branches of coronary veins are visible to us, but the another 2 branches of the coronary veins, they are not visible, but the openings are only visible in the internal structure of the heart. The openings are visible. So these are the 2 openings, here and here. Here. So like that, there are 4 pulmonary veins opens into 4 pulmonary veins open into left auricle, and 2 from each lung. That means they come from both the lungs and opens into the left auricle. They come from both the lungs, opens into left auricle. These 4 pulmonary veins, they bring oxygenated blood from both the lungs into left auricle. Here one exception is there. One exception is there. All the veins carries the deoxygenated blood, but only one vein by its 4 branches, which brings the oxygenated blood from the lungs into heart. Especially what is the functioning of the veins? Veins, they have to carry the deoxygenated blood. All the veins are doing the same function. They carry the deoxygenated blood from the various body parts into heart, but except one. What is that? The coronary vein. The coronary vein which carries the oxygenated blood from both the lungs into left auricle. This is the exceptional case regarding to the veins. Now, what are the blood vessels which carry the blood away from the heart? The first one, pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery. This is the pulmonary artery. It arises from right ventricle. Pulmonary artery or pulmonary arch. It arises from right ventricle. Which carry deoxygenated blood from right auricle to both the lungs. Pulmonary artery arises from the right ventricle, and it comes out of the heart. It divides into 2 branches. This is the one pulmonary artery. This is also another pulmonary artery. PA. It divides into 2 branches and it supplies the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to both the lungs. That is the function of pulmonary artery. And second one, aorta. So this is the largest blood vessel in the body. Aorta is the largest blood vessel in the body. It arises from, this is the aorta. From here to, this is the aorta. It arises from here left ventricle and supply blood. What kind of blood? Oxygenated blood to all body parts by its several branches, by its various branches. So aorta, it arises from the left ventricle. This is the largest blood vessel inside the human body, and it arises from the left ventricle. It supplies the blood to it supplies the oxygenated blood to all body parts by its various branches. And some of the important branches which are arised from the aorta, we are going to discuss about them. And especially I am talking about what are the main blood vessels which are arised from the aorta, especially from the aortic arch. And what are the lateral branches I want to discuss here. We will discuss about them in the later classes. But here I am going to discuss about what are the main branches which are arised immediately from the aortic arch near the heart. This is the aorta. So this curved shape. This is the one blood vessel. Three types of blood vessels are arised. The first one is called, this is the first one, brachiocephalic artery. This brachiocephalic artery, it divides into two branches again. Brachiocephalic artery divides into two branches. The first one is right subclavian artery. The right subclavian artery supplies the oxygenated blood to the right arm. And right common carotid artery. Right common carotid artery, it supplies the oxygenated blood to the brain and face, especially the brachiocephalic artery. It supplies the blood to especially upper body parts like neck, head, face, like that. It divides into two branches, as you know already. And the second branch, left common carotid artery. The left common carotid artery, it is the direct branch from the aortic arch. The left common carotid artery also supplies the blood to brain and face. And the third branch, 1, 2, 3. Third branch is called left subclavian artery. Left subclavian artery, it supplies the blood to left arm. And from the base of aorta, so for example, aorta, it is originated from the left ventricle. Aorta originated from the left ventricle. At the base of the aorta, just above the bicuspid wall, a pair of arteries are arised. These are called coronary arteries. These coronary arteries, they supply the oxygenated blood from the left ventricle to heart muscles. Especially the arteries carries the oxygenated blood, but one exception is there, like veins. So the pulmonary artery, all the arteries carries the oxygenated blood from the heart to various body parts, but except one, that is called pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery which carries the deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to both the lungs. This is the exception. When we are talking about the veins, all the veins carries the deoxygenated blood except one, that is called pulmonary vein. Pulmonary vein carries the oxygenated blood from both the lungs into left auricle.